Welcome to SNN, where I will keep you up to date with the latest occurring with News Now Houston and Earl David Warden. And I'm going to attempt to do it without getting involved in all of the mass hysteria currently surrounding this circus. Now, for those of you that are new to this story, let me catch you up on what's going on. Earl David Warden, normally goes by David Warden, is an auditor for News Now Houston, and he also owns that channel. Now, what an auditor will do is they will go to a sensitive location, such as a police station, and they will begin filming. And what they'll do is they're going to await for somebody to come out and ask for their ID or ask what they're doing. Generally speaking, they're not going to give any information back. They're going to stand on their rights. And the idea is to find out if that police officer, that security guard, or whomever violates their rights. Photography is not a crime. You can pretty much film anything as long as you are on public property. Indeed, Mr. Warden and several others have been instrumental in changing the police policy when it comes to them being filmed. The main difficulty and his main weakness arises from the fact that in the early 80s, he was convicted of sexual assault with a weapon. Now, in attempting to move past the hysteria, this conviction is a fact. It occurred. He is now a registered sex offender. In 2002, he was investigated for allegations of molesting his children. Now, he says that that investigation was concluded. In other words, it was closed. We have no documentation proving that fact. Nowhere does it say it was closed. Generally speaking, if a case is not closed, it will remain open, especially when there's no statute of limitations. So the possibility is just as good. And again, he may not be lying. It may have gotten closed, but cases can be reopened. And there's also the possibility that they just didn't pursue it any longer, and they left the case open, especially when it's a charge which they can bring at any time. In other words, there's no statute of limitations. Mr. Warden states that a David Wade is the individual that committed that crime, was the perpetrator. And that's the story I'm going to get to here in a second. In 2017, late 2017, he was interviewed by Deer Park police, interrogated. In other words, he was put in an interrogation. They used the pretext of his shell controversy or shell arrest or statements made towards the manager of the security department to bring him in and to place him at ease so they can, and obviously in the video, if you look in description, you will see a link to the actual interrogation. Yeah, they waylaid him on the 2002 allegations of child molesting his own daughter. Now, since that interrogation video was released by a California attorney, Mr. Warden has nonstop been taking it down. It is well worth watching. Keep in mind, police lie. They do. Family members lie. And of course, Mr. Warden has a reason to lie. The only thing that we know for a fact is somebody is lying. So the question is, are the police lying? Is pretty much Mr. Warden's entire family of, I believe, 10 children lying? In February of 2019, this year, the Houston local media broke the story, exposed police corruption within Houston. Mr. Warden reported on those stories. This is where the waters got muddy. The president of the Policemen's Union went on the air and stated that the activists or anybody who's stirring the pot will be investigated. So now this becomes the question. The supporters of Mr. Warden state that this is now retaliation against Mr. Warden himself by fabricating charges. Or was the president of the Policemen's Union aware that charges were already in the pipeline and foolishly muddied the water by, shall we say, making the statement ahead of time. Several days after that statement, Mr. Warden was arrested for the 2002 allegations, and charges were brought against him. I'm going to play a section of his interview with the Deer Park Police, where he discusses a Mr. Daniel Wade. And I'm going to let you know, I think we may have found him, and I'll get to that right after this interview. I would highly recommend that you view the whole interview while they're still up. Again, News Now Houston is currently taking these videos down as fast as he possibly can, which is somewhat hypocritical since he's supporting the First Amendment, and yet he doesn't want people to get the other side of the story. He wants to control the narrative. And yes, I may be biased on this, but this is what's occurring.
You want to come out and tell us the truth? Huh? So I can go back to your daughters that you abused? Let them know, you know what, he's sorry. He apologized. They're your daughters, bro. One's had to see therapy, they all hate you. How do you want to work it?
You have no idea what I did with Ashley. When they found her down here with Daniel Wade in a hotel room being molested.
Who's Daniel Wade?
How come you don't know that?
Well, who is
You know all this shit, but you don't know that.
No one's told me about a Daniel Wade.
He's the guy that was convicted for molesting her.
No one's told me about a Daniel Wade.
Imagine that.
So tell me about Daniel Wade.
Imagine that.
Tell me about him.
So you don't know everything, do you?
No. But now you can give me something to follow up on.
I'll tell you what you do know about that much of a story that's that deep.
Well, tell me about Daniel Wade so I can get that high up.
All right, fill us in. I mean,
Daniel Wade moved in with after I moved out, ostensibly as a babysitter. He developed a. Now, keep in mind that this occurred after I got out of jail this last time.
Okay.
So it was 04, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I forget what happened. I had some other guy living there with her. Daniel Wade's just there as the babysitter.
Do you remember his name or anything like that?
Daniel Wade?
No, not the other guy.
I was married to him. You can ask her.
Okay.
Okay. And I had a relationship at that point, a good relationship. We did things together with her other siblings along. Mm-hmm. Never had any issues. But as Daniel Wade came in, she began to get more and more distant. And I had conversations with her about this. And she just said, oh, well, she's a kid, let her do whatever she's going to do. And it got to the point where I confronted Daniel Wade and told him that I thought he was a child molester and that he was doing something with. He denied it. I asked, she denied it. At that point, I was cut off completely. No more contact.
Okay.
All right. Pasadena PD picked up, they had some kind of fire at the house, and I'm getting no information at all from her mother. I was cut off from everything. Pasadena PD, they had a fire, and they were all staying at a hotel. Pasadena PD rolled through the hotel, running plate numbers, came up with somebody had a warrant. They went and knocked on the door. They found Daniel together.
How old was Daniel?
Late 20s.
no, when this happened.
13, 12.
2004, you said?
Yeah, 04, 05. He's convicted. He's on the sex offender list.
After listening to that interview, one of my subscribers sent me a link, And you'll note in this link, and if you look in description, you'll see that link also, that the dates match up. So, News Now Houston, Earl David Warden may very well have been telling the truth on that. If you look in description, you will see a link to the full, I guess you could call it a sex offender registry. So the question is this the same Daniel Wade? Look in description, check it out. The dates are really similar. They could be close, and you decide. Please make sure to put your comments. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. I'm John Masters. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.